The man with the quiet iced real estate gods had a cruel sense of humor. The morning sun had barely crept above the Los Angeles skyline when Madison Crane pulled up to the open house that was supposed to change her life. She stared up at the mansion, a sprawling glass and concrete beast perched high in the Silver Lake Hills. All edges and ego, just like its architect. Inside, every surface gleamed. The floors were polished to a kind of arrogant shine. The scent of lemongrass and money hung in the air, and the panoramic view of the city. You could practically see the Academy Awards from the infinity pool. Madison smoothed her sleek bob in the hallway mirror and ran through her mental checklist. Espresso machine primed mood music on loop, lights dim to expensive glow. Designer heels that could cripple a lesser woman. Let's make $1 million impression. She whispered to herself, not because she believed in pep talks, but because the commission on this property could pay off her student loans, replace her car, and finally get her mother into the assisted living facility. With the koi pond dot at 10 a.m. sharp, the first guests started arriving. A crypto investor with enough cologne to kill a small bird. A couple who only communicated through glances and passive-aggressive sighs. An Instagram influencer who did a dance routine on the Marble Island, captioning it "Manifesting my manifestation mansion." Madison was in her element, flashing smiles, dropping phrases like imported Italian stone and fully solar smart home integrated. She could talk luxury like it was her first language. No one could see the girl who once cleaned motel rooms with her mother in Bakersfield. Not anymore. Then, at 11:40 a.m., he walked in. No announcement, no entourage, just a quiet entrance, and a presence that didn't ask permission to be noticed. He wore a charcoal hoodie, jeans, and worn-in leather boots. His hair was a little too long, his beard a little too thoughtful. He didn't carry a branded tote bag or designer sunglasses, just a small leather notebook tucked under one arm. For a moment, Madison thought he might be with one of the other guests, someone's assistant or, worse, a journalist. He paused at the threshold, like he wasn't sure if he belonged. Madison clocked him instantly. Not a buyer, not today. Still, professionalism was the brand. She approached with her trademark high-heel strut and well-practiced warmth. "Welcomin'," she said brightly. "Can I get you anything? Coffee, water, maybe a brochure?" The man smiled softly, eyes kind but unreadable. "No, thank you. Just looking." Madison gave a gracious nod and turned back to the power couple eyeing the pool deck. She didn't notice the man's gaze lingering on the details, the hand-carved wooden beam above the fireplace, the way the light fell across the stone in the entryway. She also didn't notice the notebook in his hand, where he quietly scribbled 3 words. "This is the one. Chapter 2, Sell the Dream." Not the guy in a hoodie. It wasn't that Madison was cruel. She just didn't waste time. The real estate game wasn't a charity. You either closed or you got crushed under the weight of your own open house flyers. And honestly, the man in the hoodie didn't look like he could afford a $12 million view, let alone the espresso machine. He moved slowly, reverently, like he wasn't here to buy, but to feel. He ran his hand along the edge of a stone sink, paused in front of the living room windows for a full 2 minutes, and to Madison's horror, sat down on the velvet couch like he was thinking. She almost offered to call him an Uber. Meanwhile, Madison kept working the room, pitching hard to the types of clients who wore Rolexes and casually name-dropped Ken's. As she passed the man in the hoodie again, he looked up. "This house," he said, voice low and thoughtful. "It's very quiet. Triple-paned glass," she replied briskly. "Blocks out all the city noise." But he shook his head. "Not that kind of quiet. The other kind." She didn't ask what he meant. Chapter 3, Judging Covers, Missing. Pages. After an hour, the foot traffic thinned out. Madison leaned against the Marble Island, checking her phone. No bites yet, but she had one follow-up scheduled for next week. That was the game. Long courtships, bigger payoffs. Then she realized he was still there. The man in the hoodie had moved to the backyard, standing by the edge of the infinity pool, staring out over the Los Angeles basin like it was a canvas. Only he could read. Madison approached again, trying not to sigh. "Hey there," she said, polite but clipped. "If you're interested, I do have the seller's disclosures and recent comps. He turned. There was no offense in his expression, no awkwardness, just calm. I'm not worried about comps. He said, I don't buy homes for numbers. Madison blinked. Oh, are you an investor? He tilted his head. I'm more of a believer. Believer in what? He smiled again. Stories, spaces, the way a house can heal. Okay, now she was sure. Writer, artist, maybe a director on hiatus. Possibly homeless, but philosophical. Definitely not a buyer. Well, she said carefully, if you ever do want to speak about the financial side of things, I'd be happy to. I'll take your card, he said. Surprised, she handed one over. He nodded his thanks, then quietly made his way back through the house, pausing only once at the front door to touch the wooden frame, like it was something sacred. Then he was gone. Chapter 4. The laugh heard round the office later that afternoon. Back at the office, Madison told the story. I swear to God, she said, rolling her eyes. This guy looked like he just crawled out of a yoga retreat in Topanga. Carried a notebook like he was going to write a poem about the bathtub. Wanted to feel the energy of the house. I'm telling you, this city is a sitcom. Her co-workers laughed. Even the receptionist cracked a grin. Maybe he was scouting locations for a rom-com, someone joked, or looking for a good spot to manifest inner peace. Said another. An intern named Tyler frowned thoughtfully. Wait, what did he look like? Madison shrugged. Tall, scruffy, sad eyes. Wore a hoodie like it was armor. Tyler's face went pale. Was it kind of a gray hoodie? Black jeans, bit of a beard. Yeah, she said. Why? He swallowed. You do realize you just humiliated KeanuReeves, right? The room went silent. Madison blinked. Wait, what? Tyler whipped out his phone, pulled up a photo. Oh my God, someone whispered. It was him. It was Keanu, actual, Reeves, and Madison. Madison had spent an hour treating him like he was there for the free lemon water. The laugh that died too. Quicklith office was still buzzing, but now with the frantic, uncomfortable kind of energy that comes right before a train wreck. Madison Crane stared at the phone in Tyler's hand, like it had turned into a live grenade. Are you sure? She asked, voice thin. Tyler nodded solemnly, scrolling through pictures faster than a teenage fan account. Same eyes, same beard, same hoodie. Even, that's KeanuReeves, no doubt. One of the junior agents whispered. I thought he lived in New York. No, Tyler said. He's been in LA lately. Remember the article? He's been looking at real estate here. Low-key, something for a non-profit he's building. Transitional housing or something. Oh my God, said Madison flatly. He wasn't house hunting for himself. No, Tyler said. He's building a community project. Didn't want press. Was handling most of the visits himself. Low profile. Another agent chimed in. You mean to tell me the sad-eyed guy in the hoodie I almost asked to leave could buy this whole block in cash and still have enough money left over to fund a moon mission? And then, with tragic timing, someone played a video clip from an interview. Keanu, sitting in a chair, softly telling a reporter, I try to give quietly. You don't have to wear a suit to change the world. Madison wanted to crawl under the desk and file for witness protection. Chapter 2. Cancelled by Carmaby lunch. The office group chat was on fire. Sasha, girl, I can't believe you told him just let me know if you have questions about financing. Jordan, he's worth over $300 mil. He is financing. Tyler, plot twist, you rejected John Wick, and now you're marked. Madison, okay, I get it. I died. This is my ghost typing. Sasha, this your 13th reason. Madison, don't at me unless you have a time machine. Jordan, sending prayers and LinkedIn endorsements. She threw her phone across her couch. This wasn't just embarrassing. This was catastrophic. KeanuReeves had walked into her open house, and she had treated him like he was auditioning for a mattress commercial. She had literally walked away from him mid-sentence. Worse, she didn't just miss a sale. She missed a chance to matter. A charity project. Transitional housing. Madison had grown up in the kind of place where transitional housing wasn't a term, it was survival. Her mom once had to trade babysitting hours for rent. They ate spaghetti 3 nights a week and called it Italian week to feel fancy. And she, Madison Crane, had just humiliated a man trying to help people like her younger self. She pulled out his business card. It felt heavier now, like a quiet kind of justice. Chapter 3, Apology. Served ice cold the next morning. Madison didn't put on her usual sales warrior face. She wore jeans, flats, a plain black tee. No armor, just guilt and caffeine. She rehearsed the apology on the drive, something sincere, humble. She could show him she wasn't always the person she'd been yesterday. She found the number on the business card and called. Voicemail. She left a message. Hi, Mr. Reeves. This is Madison Crane. We met at the Silver Lake Open House yesterday. I owe you an apology. I treated you dismissively and made assumptions I had no right to make. It was unprofessional and frankly unkind. If you'd be open to meeting, even for coffee, I'd like the chance to make it right. She hung up. Waited. No reply. Later that evening, she mailed. Then DM'd him professionally on Instagram. Then waited some more. Still nothing. She knew better than to push, but it felt like someone had closed a very expensive, very humbling door in her face. Chapter 4, The Callback You Don't Expect. 3 days later, at 6:04 p.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered with a flutter in her chest. Hello. Pause, then a voice, calm and unmistakable. Hi, Madison. It's Keanu. She almost dropped the phone. Oh, Mr. Reeves, thank you for calling back. You don't have to do the speech, he said gently. I listened to your voicemail. Pause, I appreciate the apology. That takes character. Her throat tightened. Thank you. I feel terrible. I didn't see you. I mean, I saw you, but I didn't see you, and I get it, he said, not unkindly. We're trained to see what we're told is valuable. Sometimes it takes a jolt to remember what actually is. She let that sink in. Then he added, I wanted to let you know, I've decided to work with another agency, but no hard feelings. Madison blinked hard. Of course he had. Why wouldn't he? Of course, she said, voice tight. Thank you for the call, and again, I'm sorry. Hey, he said, before hanging up. Keep your eyes open, you might find something real again. Click. Chapter 5, Glasshouses. Cracks appearing that night. Madison sat in her living room, still dressed from work. She didn't turn on the TV, didn't scroll Instagram. She just stared at the stack of high-end listing brochures on her coffee table, like they were written in another language. When had she become this person? So focused on curated perfection that she didn't see humanity when it walked into the room. The next morning, she pulled out a dusty box from her closet. Inside was a notebook, torn, coffee-stained, full of hopeful doodles and her scribbled dreams from a decade ago. Back when she was waitressing through night school. Back when she believed kindness could live in business. On the last page was a quote her mother had written. Be the person someone wants to thank 5 years from now, somehow. That felt like it belonged to Keanu more than to her. But maybe it wasn't too late to find her way back. The art of the empty inbox. Madison had never known silence could feel so loud. It had been 2 weeks since the Keanu incident, as her co-workers had dubbed it with way too much glee. The memes in the office group chat had finally stopped. John Wick wouldn't ghost you. He'd just professionally ignore you. The jokes had faded. But what lingered was worse, the silence in her own head. She'd tried to move on, thrown herself into listings, pitched clients like nothing had changed. But something had. A crack had formed in her shiny real estate mask. And the more she smiled for clients, the more it felt like she was borrowing someone else's face. Then, one morning, 3 weeks and 2 days later, she received an email. Subject line, follow-up from KeanuReeves. Hi Madison. I hope this finds you well. I appreciate your message from earlier. I was wondering if you'd be open to meeting for a quick coffee. Just to talk, no business. Keanu made us unread it 3 times. Then a fourth. Her heart did a cartwheel she pretended not to feel. Chapter 2, A cup of coffee and a slice of crow. They met at a quiet cafe in West Hollywood. The kind with exposed brick and espresso that came with a side of existential introspection. Keanu was already there when she arrived, still in that signature hoodie, still unassuming. He looked up and smiled, not the movie star smile, the real one, gentle, forgiving. "Madison," he said, standing, "thanks for coming." She sat across from him, heart thudding like a drum line at a football game. "I have to say," she started, "I didn't expect to hear from you. I didn't expect to message you," he replied, sipping his coffee, but something kept tugging at me. She raised an eyebrow. "Most people," he continued, "don't circle back. Not after making a mistake, especially when there's nothing in it for them." She blinked. "You think I did it for nothing?" He smiled. "I think you did it for the right reason." There was a long pause. Then he added, "That's rare in your industry." She winced. "Ouch." He shrugged. "Truth isn't always subtle." They sipped in silence for a moment. It wasn't awkward. It was clearing. She finally asked, "Why'd you want to meet?" He leaned back, thoughtful. "Because I believe in second chances. But I don't always give them to the person who wants it. Sometimes I give them to the person who needs it." Madison's throat went dry. "I'm not asking to be your agent," she said quickly. "I know that bridge is toast. I didn't call you here to offer you a bridge." He replied, "I called you to offer a mirror." She didn't understand what he meant. Not fully. Not yet. But something in her chest, that old, dusty voice of the girl who once dreamt big in a shared apartment above a laundromat, it stirred. Chapter 3, Opportunity. Slightly burnt later that week, Madison got a call from her agency's director. "Strange thing," he said. "A high-profile buyer just pulled his deal from us. Said we weren't the kind of agency he wanted to work with anymore." When I asked why, he said we were too concerned with appearance, not enough with substance. Madison knew. She knew it before the call ended. Before her boss muttered something about entitled celebrities and hung up. Keanu had made his choice, and it wasn't her. Not because of revenge, because of integrity. She respected that, but it still stung like lemon juice in a paper cut. Chapter 4. A tiny door opens. A week passed, then another. Then, one afternoon while scrolling real estate forums, the nerdy kind, not the TikTok kind, she saw a post, seeking agent with community housing experience for a special project. Discretion and compassion required. Contact, Foundation 94. Her stomach twisted. The name sounded familiar. She clicked out the project. A set of 5 properties being developed into transitional housing for low-income families. Quietly backed by anonymous donors. One of the few listed agents on the planning board, KeanuReeves. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She didn't know if this was a test, a trap, or just fate being cute, but she reached out anyway. Chapter 5. No ribbon, no bow. Keanu's reply was simple. "You sure you're ready for something that pays in purpose, not profit?" She replied, "I think that's the only currency I've got left." He sent an address. No contracts, no promises. Just be there. Monday, 9 a.m. Beneath the polish. Monday at 9 a.m. Madison stood outside a building that didn't look like it had much to say. The sign read St. Elias Community Resource Center, but the Ian Elias flickered like it was trying to escape. She checked the address again. This was it. This wasn't a showroom. There were no espresso machines, no feng shui fountains, just cracked pavement, a row of plastic chairs, and a volunteer with kind eyes and a clipboard the color of regret. Inside, the lobby was a mix of scuffed linoleum, folding chairs, and flyers pinned to a bulletin board with titles like Free Legal Aid Tuesdays and Narcan Training, all welcome. Madison tried to walk in with confidence, but it felt like her heels didn't belong here. She asked for Keanu. "Backlot," the volunteer said with a smile, "building the community garden. KeanuReeves is planting tomatoes. He's more of a kale guy." Chapter 2. Dirt under the nails found him crouched near a wooden planter box, wearing gloves and looking like a very handsome garden gnome. He glanced up. "You came." "You said 9 a.m., she replied, hands in pockets. "I didn't want to fail at dirt, too." He smirked, then grabbed some gloves. "These carrots won't plant themselves." As she knelt beside him in the soil, it hit her. She hadn't touched the earth in years. Everything in her world had been smooth surfaces and synthetic textures. No grit, no mess, no roots. Now, she was wrist deep in compost, side by side with a man who could have been on a yacht, but was instead showing a kid how to check soil pH. With a test strip, "You do this often?" she asked. "Every week. You know you're KeanuReeves, right?" He chuckled. "Only on weekends." Chapter 3. The woman in the red hoodie. Later that afternoon, Madison stayed for a meal service. She hadn't planned to, but she couldn't leave, not after she met Maria, a mother of two who used to work as a sous chef at a hotel until a medical bill flattened her. Finances. Madison watched her serve chili like she was hosting a five-star banquet. Or Leon, a man in his 60s who once owned a record store in Echo Park. He shared his cornbread with another guest like it was fine art. But the one who stopped Madison in her tracks was Trina, early 20s, bright red hoodie, fierce eyes. Trina had been homeless for a year and a half, escaped an abusive home, got her GED, was applying for nursing programs. "I slept in a tent behind a Walgreens for 6 months," she said between bites of soup. "Still better than where I came from." Madison felt her throat close. "Do you ever want to go into real estate?" she joked weakly. Trina looked at her. "Nah, I want to do something that makes people feel safe." The words landed like a stone. Safe, isn't that what homes were supposed to be? Chapter 4. You can't stage this after cleanup. Keanu handed her a thermos of coffee. They sat on a curb in the back lot. The sun was setting behind them, casting a soft glow on the cracked asphalt. "I didn't expect this," Madison admitted. "Any of it. I didn't expect you to show up," he replied. They watched a small group of teens paint a mural on the side of the building. It said, "You are not your worst moment." She looked down at her shoes, stained from dirt, scuffed at the toes. "I was never this person," she said quietly. Keanu sipped his coffee. "That's not true. You don't know who I was." "I don't need to. I know who showed up today." She swallowed hard. The old Madison, the one who sold marble islands and made small talk about built-in wine fridges, would have laughed at this moment or ignored it completely. But this Madison didn't want to leave. Chapter 5. The note on the mirror. That night, Madison went home, took off her makeup, and stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. Not the flawless version, the real one. She pulled out a post-it note and wrote 5 words: "Be someone worth showing up." She stuck it to the mirror, where her reflection could see it every day, not because she was fixed, but because she was finally aware of the cracks and willing to grow through them. Not a listing, a legacy. "Don't wear heels," the text said. Madison read it twice before chuckling to herself. It was from Keanu, obviously. He was a man of few words and even fewer fashion expectations. It had been a month since she started volunteering at the St. Elias Center. What began as a quiet apology tour had turned into something more personal, something she hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Now, on a surprisingly crisp Wednesday morning, she found herself standing in front of a boarded-up, sun-bleached house in a forgotten part of the city. Not her usual stomping grounds. The sidewalks were cracked. The only nearby coffee shop sold burnt drip in styrofoam cups. But Keanu stood waiting, leaning against the hood of a dusty SUV. She approached, pulling off her sunglasses. "This isn't exactly what I had in mind when you said showing," she said. He grinned. "This isn't a showing. Oh, it's a beginning." Chapter 2. The plan that wasn't a pitch. Keanu walked her through the property, or what was left of it. The house looked like it had been in a long-term relationship with a wrecking ball. Moldy carpet, water damage, a staircase that groaned like it was haunted. "You trying to open a haunted airbun?" she joked. He smiled. "No, a transitional living space. Families in crisis, single parents, veterans, survivors, people who need time and stability to get back on their feet." She blinked. He continued, "We've bought 3 of these properties on this block. Quietly, plan is to rehab them, furnish them, and partner with mental health and job placement programs." She turned slowly, taking in the space with new eyes. "This isn't real estate," she murmured. "It's humanity." Keanu looked at her. "That's why I thought of you." She tilted her head. "You're either incredibly trusting, or you've gone soft." "Neither," he said. "I saw you at the shelter. I saw who you are without the heels and brochure speak. I want that version of you on this project." Madison felt her chest tighten. Not flattery, Not a favor, a real invitation to do something meaningful. "I'm in," she said quietly. Chapter 3, Demo Day and Dirty Hands. Over the next few weeks, Madison traded in stilettos for steel-toed boots. She met the build team, learned to use a power drill, donated furniture, helped paint walls with volunteers, some of whom had once stayed in shelters themselves. It wasn't glamorous. She sweat. She bled mildly. She ate sandwiches on the curb. But every moment felt like redemption spelled in drywall and primer. She met Mrs. Patel, a retired seamstress and grandmother of 4, who'd lived out of her car for months after her apartment building was sold and gutted. Now, she helped sew curtains for the rooms they were rebuilding. She met Trina again, the red hoodie warrior from St. Elias, who helped design a small reading nook in one of the houses. "We're not just building homes," Trina said, nailing a board in place. "We're building soft landings." Madison nodded. "You're hired, by the way. When I launch my next life." Trina grinned. "As what? A non-profit queen?" Madison paused. "Maybe." Chapter 4, A news crew and a choice word started spreading. It was hard to keep something this good a secret. A local reporter caught wind of the project and showed up with a camera crew. Keanu, naturally, tried to slip out the back. "You're not going to speak?" Madison asked, surprised. "This isn't about me, but your name could get more eyes, more donations." He looked at her, eyes kind but firm. "It's not about the spotlight. It's about the light." She stood in silence for a second, then walked up to the mic herself. She told the story. Not the whole story, not the embarrassing parts, but enough. Enough to share what it meant to build something that couldn't be appraised with numbers. Something you had to feel. When the clip aired on the local news, a flood of support followed: donations, volunteers, offers from contractors. The project tripled in scope within 2 weeks. And Madison? She got her first thank you letter from a mother who moved into one of the units with her son. Chapter 5, When Full Circle Doesn't Feel Like the End. 6 months later, the project launched its first community celebration. Keanu stood in the back of the crowd. As usual, Madison gave a speech. No heels, just a deep green blazer, scuffed boots, and a soul finally grounded. She thanked the donors, the builders, the community. Then she looked directly at Keanu. "And lastly," she said, "I want to thank the man who walked into my open house and changed everything I thought I knew about success." The crowd clapped. Keanu just gave her a quiet thumbs up. After the ceremony, he walked over and handed her a worn leather notebook. She opened it. Inside was a sketch, the original house, the one she'd dismissed, drawn by hand. Underneath, he'd written, "This is the one, K." The gala that wasn't about glamour. A year later, the ballroom wasn't her usual scene. No fog machines, no champagne waterfalls, no influencers posing next to an LED sign that said "Boss Babe Energy." Instead, the walls were decorated with hand-painted portraits, each one of a former resident from one of the transitional homes Madison helped create. Families, veterans, survivors, people whose names never trended, but whose stories deserved applause. This was the first annual Home Begins Here gala, the non-profit she founded with Keanu's quiet backing and Trina as her co-director. And tonight, Madison Crane wasn't a realtor. She wasn't selling square footage. She was funding futures. She looked out over the crowd. Trina was working the check-in table like a pro. Volunteers from the shelter sat beside developers and small donors. A man in a cheap tux gave his girlfriend a corsage made of tiny succulents. People didn't just look good, they looked seen. And then Keanu arrived, still in that same hoodie. It had a blazer over it, but still, the hoodie survived. He approached with a crooked smile. "Sorry I'm late. Someone insisted on double parking in a loading zone." She smiled. "You look very formal but emotionally available." He handed her a small box. "Open it later." She pocketed it. "If it's a gift card for drywall, I'm suing." Chapter 2, The Speech That Wasn't Rehearsed. Stood at the mic, looking out at a room full of stories. Not clients, not leads, people. No note cards, no clicker, just the truth. "When I first got into real estate," she said, "I thought success meant closing big deals. Fancy houses, bigger commissions. But a year ago, a man walked into one of my listings, in a hoodie with a notebook, and I judged him. I dismissed him. What I didn't know was that he wasn't looking for a house. He was building a home, not just for himself, but for others. And somehow, in the middle of that, he helped me find my own. The crowd was silent. Even Keanu looked like he blinked a little slower than usual. This gala isn't about me. It's about the people who taught me what home really means. It's not granite counters or vaulted ceilings. It's safety. It's dignity. It's a chance to begin again. Tonight, we don't just celebrate how far we've come. We fund what comes next. The applause wasn't explosive, that it was real, which was so much better. Chapter 3, The Gift Box and the Window Seat Litter. When the guests had thinned out, and someone was stealing centerpieces with love, Madison sat on the edge of the stage and opened the box Keanu had given her. Inside, a single brass key, attached to a tiny leather tag that read, Number 001, the first one. And under that, a photo. It was the first house, the ruined one she'd walked through with suspicion and snark. But now it was fully rebuilt. Sunlight streaming through the window, a family standing in the doorway, smiling. On the back of the photo, a handwritten note. This was never about square footage. It was always about foundation. Keishi didn't cry, okay? She cried a little. Chapter 4. Trina's efficeth. Next morning, Trina slid a folder across Madison's desk. Final numbers from the gala. We cleared for $100,000, enough to start the next build. Madison blinked. That's enough for 3 properties and a community center, Trina added. Just saying. God, we're getting good at this. We were always good at this, Trina said. We just had to start doing it for the right reasons. Madison leaned back in her chair and laughed. Not the sales went well laugh. The I like who I am again laugh. Chapter 5. The quiet listing. Weeks later, Madison got a call from a woman named Bethany. She'd inherited a property from her late grandmother, a dusty craftsman home in a forgotten zip code. She wanted to sell it, but not to a flipper. She wanted it to mean something. I heard what you're doing, Bethany said, and I want in. Madison visited the property. It was small, crumbling porch, worn shutters, but it had a heart. She walked through the rooms slowly, like Keanu had once done, listening, feeling. And in that moment, she realized she no longer judged homes by their features or people by their shoes. She judged them by their capacity to hold healing. This one, it was going to hold a lot.